Welcome to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we discuss the history, facts, people, places, events, lots more surrounding Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinside.com. Welcome back to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out. The website is hotspringsvillageinside.com, shorthand HSV, insideout.com. He is Dennis R. Simpson, and we got a special guest. I'm going to let you make the intros.
We have Sonya and Ike, who are people I have followed. I've physically never met you yet, but I'm ready. I have people I have followed for years and years. Ike, for over a decade, I have sent a little email here and there saying thank you for sponsoring the fireworks show at Hot Springs Village, among other things that you do. But that's just one of the tip of the iceberg. We're going to get into that. But first, Mr. Randy, we're coming back to you.
Okay.
This weekend, you spent your weekend with your parents who were celebrating some tiny thing. What was that?
Yeah, minor milestone. 71 years. 71 years of marriage.
Wow. 71 years. Where were we 71 years ago? That would be...
I wasn't around.
Nowhere.
Even I wasn't around, and I'm old. Probably the oldest guy here. Yeah, so, my dad will be, next week, my dad, Lord willing, he will turn 98. She is 89. She will be 90 next May. And they live independently. They live in their own house. And
he's 98?
He will be in a week.
And she's 90?
She will be. She's
Cradle
89.
robber. Oh, my Lord.
Well, he went younger at that position. So
did they not have laws at that time? Hello? What?
Yeah, what was she, 18? I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
Well, this is I thought that was the inspiration for Jerry Lee Lewis or something. I'm like, wow, what a thing.
No. Well, number one, they're not cousins, and she's not 14. So, yeah, did I say that? Yeah, I did.
You said that, and I'm thinking, I saw a cartoon the other day. It said, if we get divorced, does that mean we're still not cousins? Anyway, I just love that. So anyway, I've digressed long enough. I wanted to say this, and I wanted to say it out loud. I know they're not on Facebook. I want to celebrate the fact our society, I'm sick to death. Today, Teresa, Diane, and I, my lovely wife, are celebrating 5 years. She said it doesn't seem that long. Oh, I wish I could have met her 2 and 3 decades ago. Oh my God, what a fantastic woman. And Sonya, when I see you and Ike, look, no relationship is perfect. I get it. But you guys have been hitting the trail a little while too, haven't you?
31 years.
Really?
Yes.
You only got another 40 to go, right?
Yeah. to compete with his parents.
If we have that much patience.
Yeah, well, my wife and I are coming up in January. Lord willing, will be 44 for us. So we're tracking pretty well. And yes, we did get married when we were just babes. But
I personally think, seriously, that's something we should reward in our society more, and we don't.
Yeah, happy anniversary to you and your bride, by the way.
Thank you. And she's working her little tail feathers off today, and I can't wait till she gets home and I get to feed her Mexican food, because it's a heck of an excuse for me to get Mexican food too. So there's that.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, Ike and Sonya, you kids hit me as a powerhouse team. Ike, you sell something. What is that?
I'm a State Farm insurance agent.
State Farm insurance agent. Let's see. And you sponsor, the Boys and Girls Club, and go through a quick list.
Oh my goodness. Symphony. I mean, you name it. I mean, my policy at the office is, if it's a village thing, just don't say no. You know, I'll find one way to sponsor at some level or another. But some things are near and dear to my heart. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus and been a board member of the Boys and Girls Club since 1999. And just some things are a little bit more near and dear to me. But, one of the bigger sponsorships is the fireworks that you talk about every year, and so many things. But anyway, we do try to sponsor a whole lot.
I can add that when we first moved here 23 years ago, his big thing was, we've got to invest in this community because we love it here. And that's pretty much how it started.
That's pretty much it. The village has been very good to me, and it's just our way of giving back. And the funny thing is, people keep coming in and saying, "Hey, I want a quote from Ike because he sponsors so many things," and so we keep on growing. So I keep on sponsoring more. Yeah. And so anyway.
And if I'm not mistaken, and I want to hear the story about how you got here. I've intentionally not asked you offline or any other time how you got here, how you picked Hot Springs, the whole story. Mm-hmm. But, and forgive me, but I'm just going to call some people out, not people names, but I'm just going to say there are people in the village and around the village who pay lip service to supporting the community, but they don't write the check. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're more than, we support this organization. We support that organization. There's only a few people behind the scenes, and I'll talk about you. I know in particular, Miss Clara Nicolosi at Remax Realty, one of our friends that we've had on here many times. These are great people that, I'll call and say, "What are you doing on so-and-so?" And Clara will say, "Well, we're sponsoring that, but we haven't told anybody." And I'm like, really? A business, and you don't tell people you're sponsoring that. That's kind of the classic scenario here. But let me digress. Let's go way back. You and Sonya met. What? When?
We met at Mardi Gras in Mamou, Louisiana, a little Cajun town. The way I tell the story is that I grew up in Massachusetts, and I went to Georgetown University on an ROTC scholarship. I was there during the Patrick Ewing years. And so when I graduated, the Army was mad at me for picking an expensive school, so they punished me by sending me to Fort Polk, Louisiana. and I ended up and where they warn you, said, don't let the Cajun women cook you gumbo, and there's some kind of aphrodisiac in there. And anyway, I made that mistake, and but I ended up getting the last laugh because I ended up staying in Louisiana for 12 years. Really? And I met her at Mardi Gras on a cold February day that we almost didn't even go. And anyway, we met, and next thing you know, I went out to the desert in California for a month of training and came back, and from there on we spent every weekend together. Then I got out of the Army.
So you came back hungry for etouffee is what I'm hearing.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
My mother was an excellent cook.
She was a great cook. And Sonya is too. Sonya's a fantastic cook.
So what's the maiden name, Sonya? Got to hear it.
Richard. It's spelled like Richard, but I'm a Richard.
There you go. Yep. I went to LSU. Went in dumb, came out dumb too.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
She gets mad at me because I root for the Hogs too.
But there's a twitch in your lip when we say Hogs, Sonya. What happens? Yes. What is that?
A funny story. When it was Alltel Arena first opened. Yeah. And he took me to see Elton John. Now, I think that was the opening concert. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, we're in the hallway trying to get out of this building, and they start calling the Hogs. I was like, "What the hell is that?" And
what are these rednecks doing?
Yes.
What is that
and
sound?
He's like, "Oh, they're calling the Hogs." And I was like, "That is ridiculous." Mm-hmm. And so I have tried. My girls and I have bought Christmas ornaments for him on the tree. I won't even hang them on there anymore. I just couldn't do it. I just can't do it. And I found we'd watch any kind of sport. I was rooting against them. So I just said, okay, I don't have it in me. I can't, I will never call the Hogs. And my daughter even thought about going to university there. And I said, baby, I love you.
I took her to a football game. She would not call the Hogs.
Yeah.
And she said, I can't do it, Dad. I can't do it. And so I said, you know what? You haven't decided yet. You don't have to call the Hogs until you come down for orientation. And she signed up. She ended up going to UCA.
Understandable. Yeah. So probably about a month ago, we saw Jeff Foxworthy at Oaklawn. And he said, okay, well, you people need to, what do y'all call the something, and everybody started, woo, Pixie, and he started talking again. He was like, and they started doing, because you do it 3 times, right?
Yeah. Right.
You don't do it once. I mean, that's just disgusting if you do it once.
Yeah. I mean,
so the other 2 times, Jeff Foxworthy was like, what are y'all doing? What are these other 2? Anyway, I digress. So you left us back in Louisiana some 20 something years ago, and somehow we staggered our way after Mardi Gras up to Hot Springs.
Yeah. After I got out of the Army, I eventually ended up working for the regional office for State Farm Insurance in Monroe, Louisiana, which is that if you ever try to drag a Cajun girl north of Alexandria, they go.
Yes.
Yeah. Kicking and screaming and everything. And so anyway, I was there for several years and decided, 8 years, and decided to get into agency. And then we were supposed to get an agency in Louisiana, and this agency opened up here in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. So next thing you know, I get a call, said, "We want you to come look at this." And Sonya's like, "We don't want to go there." It's like, let's give it a look. And, Hot Springs is a really nice place. I've been there a couple times, and so anyway, we came up and looked, and she cried like a baby. And I said, "Look, if you don't like it here, we'll find a way to make it work somehow or other, and go back into operations or whatever." And anyway, that was 23 years ago, and now can't imagine living any other place.
Yeah, this is home.
And what a fantastic business opportunity it's been for us. I mean, we've got one of the biggest agencies in the state. We've won just about every major award that State Farm offers, industry-wide awards. We've done tremendous things here. And it's just been a true blessing. And we just love the place, love the people.
My kids grew up here.
Yeah. And you'd think a retirement community may not be the best place to raise kids. It's not true at all. They it's been a wonderful place for them to grow up, and so we've enjoyed it.
Well, Randy and I had a conversation this morning. We text all the time and back and forth. We're about to have what I call, and what I'm looking forward to calling, stereotype busters. Okay. We're all a bunch of old retired people. We all live in the village all day. We always scream outdoors, kids, get off the lawn. And there's not even any kids here. There's no kids here. Mm-hmm. But we're about to go through a series of shows. We've got a lady who has a 9-year-old who she sends to school in Jessieville every day. Mm-hmm. We've got people who are investors moving from Dallas. We've got people all over. So we're about to break that stereotype, because the village, if you look at it in a stereotype profile, you're going to miss a lot of things. Is that fair, Ike?
I agree 100%. 100%. Yes.
Even when we lived here years ago, I was working, and because his agency was going to have such a huge demand, in his time, he asked me to stay home for a while, and I was like, I don't think I want to do that. I went to college, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I did was I networked with, anytime he met somebody young or whatever, we started a play group here.
Really?
And I would meet with other young moms. There were like 5 buses that went through here. There were kids here. I met Larry Powell, that's a dentist in the village. He had some kids. Different churches. So many others, it was so much fun.
And she was president of the board of Simply Kids, which is now Great Futures Daycare. Way back in the day when it was in a trailer home over where the Beehive is now. And
so we just jumped in.
She was probably spent more time volunteering at Jessieville School than anybody else for probably about 12, 13 years or something like that. She was president of the school board. She was Citizen of the Year back around 7 years ago when this was 2014, I think. She was Citizen of the Year by Village Voice. And so anyway, a tremendous volunteer.
Thanks. That was sweet.
Well, and I want to reiterate, I really do. There are people who pay lip service to that. And then there are people who spend 30 hours a week in donating their time. It's a difference it's a tremendous difference. So let catch me back up. So we started sponsoring the fireworks because and when and what all happened there?
Well, the fireworks was somebody from the POA came and visited me, and they were looking for a major sponsor for the fireworks. And, being an old military guy and, with the name Eisenhauer, I was always always a patriotic guy. I mean, I studied government at Georgetown. I thought my career was going to be in politics or whatever. I mean, I just love this country, and so that there were different sponsorship opportunities, but the big one was the fireworks, and to me, it's like, okay, that's the one I want. And so even though the check was bigger, it's what I wanted to do. And
I can walk into a business and they'll say, please, thank y'all so much for sponsoring fireworks. Yeah. I mean, all times of the year.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
very
let me skip ahead. So it sounds like we're just insurance, but that would be the tip of the top of the iceberg. Is that fair?
Oh, it's the bread and butter. But yeah, we do other stuff now too.
If I'm not mistaken, are you sitting on the porch? No, that's not the porch that you're for the new home, for the new.
No, this is at our house. We live on Lake Cortez. And so we figured we'd come out here for the nice, pretty backdrop. But so we're outside just like you are.
So I'll tell you what, if you wave that way and I wave this, no. By the way, occasionally we have Rick Marshall, who specializes in property on Lake DeSoto. Mm-hmm. He has added you people to his flock. And you're going to be getting updates and mailers about things that are happening on the village. He's a savvy guy. I didn't know there's 182 lake homes on Hot Springs Village, about to be 183, right, Randy? According to last week's show. And it's going to be a very
which will air Friday, by the way.
Well, that airs Friday,
okay.
Really? Have you seen Gary Moulin? He's the guy that has a place over on Toledo that Gerald Ellison is building a place. And oh my Lord, the pictures are amazing, but it looks
another Louisianan. The N is silent, by the way, Dennis.
Nice.
He is a Louisianan. You're right.
Moulin.
Absolutely. Okay. Where's he from?
Oh.
Where did he say? Was it Baton Rouge?
No.
We're going to have
he's from.
You're not supposed to stump the host.
Sorry.
No. Yeah,
okay.
don't stump the host.
Y'all keep talking. Hey, I got pen. I make notes, but if I wrote it down, I'll find it. Y'all keep talking.
I yaki, he righty. It works. It's a great combination. It's a great combination. So yesterday we saw a show with John Cooksey from not Hello Hot Springs, but Hot Springs Broadcasting, who does a fantastic job. I look through his videos and go, man, you got more energy than I do, buddy. I don't see how you do all that. I mean, hundreds of videos. He's at every event every weekend. I'm like, I kind of like my weekends eventually alone, right? Mm-hmm. All that said, he took a tour tell me the exact name of the new place. I'm all stuck on the Knickerbocker next door, but tell me the place of your new facility.
It's called Maison 226. So it's at 226 Prospect. Yeah, 226 Prospect Avenue.
Okay, so let me get this straight. For those of you, and we've covered a lot of material here, but if you're on Bathhouse Row and you look back up behind there's a row of what we call the Painted Ladies, the three different colored houses, which if you were at, what's the name of the bar there? What was the
Maxine's?
I'm sorry, Maxine's. Mm-hmm. If you were at Maxine's, Randy, and you were a guest, I'm using air quotes here, at Maxine's, and you wanted to spend some time with the ladies, they would point you up to the green house or the yellow house or the pink house, and you would go visit the ladies and Maxine was the madam of Hot Springs for the whole time. I don't know that I've ever shared this before, Randall. Anyway, but all that said, the next block up from the Painted Ladies, is that where you guys are? On Prospect?
Right, they're on Court Street and we're on Prospect Avenue. So
tell me
from the back of our building, you can see the Painted Ladies, the Sisters of the Court.
Sisters of the Court. I like that.
Yeah, that's another. The sign there now says Sisters of the Court, but I've heard it referred to both ways.
Well, I tell you what, Randy, and someday we can do a full episode on what happens at that place. Have y'all ever done the Haunted Hot Springs?
No,
we have not.
No.
They talk about one of the events that happened at that. Sisters of the Court, one of the local judges was supposedly, and I'm quoting here from not mine, but one of the judges was supposedly caught in a satanic seance and was run out of town, and the house was nearly burned. And but honestly, the haunted hot springs is probably the best $20 you'll ever spend, or $15. It was really good.
Yeah.
Well, they talked about how at one time Hot Springs had tens of thousands of visitors coming for the cure, and that a lot of them ended up in the basement of the Army Navy hospital that they used as a morgue, because people came and didn't always get well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But anyway, just across the street from that and back up the street at 226 Prospect, Well, you say about 1905 is when the building was built, but tell me the story about was it a hotel? What was it?
Yes, it used to be the Darch Hotel, and later became the Darch Apartments, but it was owned by Louis Darch. Louis Darch also owned the Knickerbocker Hotel next door. So the Knickerbocker goes back to 1890, and the Darch on the right goes back to about 1905. And Louis Darch was the manager of the Lamar Bathhouse, and he and those two hotels were Jewish hotels. So Jewish travelers from all over the South, or even from Illinois, whatever, Chicago. A lot of people came down from Chicago, of course. They would come down to Hot Springs and they would stay there. So because it's right near the temple and right near Levi Hospital. And in fact, there was a kosher kitchen in the Knickerbocker Hotel next door. And really? So that's where they would congregate. So yeah, they'd serve kosher meals, and so that's the history of the place. They were both hotels for Jewish travelers.
Well, Randy, in case you talk about another episode, John touched on it yesterday that they had the makings of building the incline railroad right behind your facilities.
Right.
I knew that they were getting ready to do that. They had talked about that, but it was abandoned. They were going to build one of these incline railroads. When one car goes down, the other one comes up. Mm-hmm. But tell me more. Do you know anything more about the Levi Hospital, what time it was founded? Because I knew that was just like a concentration of Jewish culture right there.
I don't know exactly when it started. I know it's just got a long storied history, and still does. Still has 10, 11 floors, and there's I think 120, 130 residents of Levi Towers right now.
Really?
And see them around the neighborhood all the time.
It's a fascinating place.
Yeah, there's a guy, Charlie, who plays music downtown, and he has a wagon, and he pulls his wagon down to Central Avenue to play. And then when he's coming back up, he comes back up the hill, and he's an older guy, and he asked me once to help him push the cart up the hill. So every time I see him pushing that cart, it's like, hey, hold on, Charlie, I'll come help you. So anyway, I help him get up to the door of Levi Towers.
So you get your steps in that way, is what I'm hearing tell, right?
That's right. But Sonya says Levi Hospital, she looked it up, it's founded in 1914. So
really,
by Leo Napoleon Levi.
So, but that's 10 years after the reunit that you've remodeled. And I'm jumping ahead because Randy, I want to tie to the John Cooksey article, the Hot Springs broadcast, to the tour of the building. But now, is this going to be VRBO or Airbnb or long-term rentals?
Yes, it'll be VRBO, short-term rentals.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's are you envisioning by the week, by 5 days, or what do you have in mind?
Well, during racing season, we're hoping that will be long weekends.
Yeah.
And that, since racing season was extended, we're hoping to tap into that market as well.
We've had a million requests about weddings and the family reunions and occasions like that where they can rent it out. So yeah, a lot of it'll be weekends. Downtown business tends to be more weekend business, but from what we're hearing, downtown occupancies are like 97%. So they need places for people to stay.
Well, Capone's place is one of the upstairs units down on Bathhouse Row. And,
right.
And Randy, this is a place supposedly where Capone would stay many times when he wasn't across from the Dixie, which is now the Wax Museum in the Arlington. But that place, if I'm not mistaken, is $300 a night, and they're booked for months in advance.
No, it's more than that.
Way more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I hear it's like $1,000 a night.
You say with a wry grin on your face.
Yeah. Well,
you're like, I don't know.
Happy grin.
If you've seen pictures of the place, it is pretty spectacular.
Really?
Fantastic job of that.
Okay, and we're gonna embed the video that you're referring to. But for those of us, and my hands in the air, and if our audience is lost, don't be, because I'm gonna bring it back, and this is my role here, because I'm the idiot that is gonna ask the brave question. So describe this for us. I have not seen this show that Dennis has referred to repeatedly so far in our conversation. So describe this property for those of us that haven't yet seen this video.
And I was about to come back to that and say, let's just take it as if we don't know anything and walk in the front door, the gorgeous double front doors.
Because I don't know anything about it.
So we decided when we started looking at the building plans, we decided we wanted to put balconies on the front of the building. And, you know, with Sonya being from South Louisiana, we kind of wanted to give it a New Orleans feel.
Because everybody does the gangster, right?
Yeah, it's all gangsters or, bathhouse. I mean, it's all the same themes. And we wanted something a little different. And so we decided to go with to make it kind of look like a French Quarter front, because the building was gutted. I mean, there was nothing in there. The wood that was in there, half of that was rotten, you know? And so all we had was like the shell of the building, and we could do whatever we want with it. So we decided to put balconies on the front. And with that, it kind of evolved into a New Orleans type theme. Sonya went down to New Orleans and came back with all sorts of artwork. I mean, spectacular artwork. And
that I found in Jackson Square by the local artists, the street artists.
And so we kind of went to a jazz theme. And so anyway, so the whole theme of the place is jazz and New Orleans, and the rooms, we have 5 suites in there. So there are 3 1-bedroom suites. There's one that has an extra room that has bunk beds that are made from the wood from the Knickerbocker Hotel next door. And then the top floor is a 3-bedroom suite with 2 baths, and one of those bathrooms is massive. It's huge. It's got a tub and shower in the same glassed in room. I mean, it's one of those things you have to see it to believe it. I mean, you'll see them.
It would hold a small family in the bathroom alone.
Right. Yeah. We could put bunk beds in there and rent it out as a separate apartment, you know?
And I kind of want one at home.
When you walk in, and let me take our viewers back through. When you walk in, there's 3 panels on each side that have great artwork on both sides.
Right.
But and I wanted to ask, there are brick pillars in there. Were those bricks there, or did you have to have that reconstructed, or what?
All the bricks in there are originals. Original, and anything that's not brick is pretty much new. And so the panels were in there, and for 2.5 years we were debating, what are we going to do with these panels? We got to put some artwork in there. We looked at having Pepe Gaca, who does a lot of the murals in downtown, do murals in there for us. And when we heard the price of that, it was like, maybe we need to think of something else. And so anyway, and then our good friends, Richard and Beth Geip, who live in the Village, they own Legacy Art Gallery, and they have a beautiful, spectacular apartment above that, right next to Capone's Loft. I mean, the building right next door. And they're the ones that got us. You know, they're the ones we talked to. Is like, how do we do a downtown project? I mean, what's available out there? You never see for sale signs. And he came back a week later and said, hey, I've got something you may want to look at. And that's how we got into this project. So anyway, Richard came up with the idea. It's like, why don't you have our friend Patrick Cunningham do portraits of jazz artists there? And that's a great idea, because we had decided to name the suites after jazz artists. So we have A, B, C, D, E. A is Louis Armstrong. B is Billie Holiday. C is Count Basie. D is Duke Ellington. E is Ella Fitzgerald. And so we have all of their portraits there, plus my father's favorite, Fats Waller. And so Patrick Cunningham, who lives up the street on Prospect, he did these paintings. They're 7 feet high. They're 4 feet wide.
And they're fabulous.
They're fabulous. So his technique was he took burlap, put plaster on the burlap, and then did the paintings on the plaster. And then he would take it and he'd put it down on the ground and stomp on it and break up the plaster and everything, so it looks distressed. And then we put wallpaper glue on the wall and on the backs of the paintings, and stuck them up on the walls and finished up around the edges. And it looks like they've been there 100 years.
It's something to behold. It's fantastic.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean,
it's the center place of the whole place.
Yeah, you see all the cracks and you see all the flaws and everything like that. It looks like a mural that's been there forever. and it's only been there since the spring.
So there's two units downstairs that are a basement. Is that right?
No, none in the basement.
Okay.
The basement's just unfinished, but we have 2 on the first floor. Second floor, we have one that's just a 1-bedroom place, and the one above the lobby is where the that bonus bedroom is. It's got a sliding barn door and 2 bunk beds. And then the third floor is just a full 3-bedroom place. And out in front, the balcony on the third floor runs all the way across from one side to the other.
And has a view down over Bathhouse Road that is literally $1 million. It's gorgeous. And you're looking through the magnolias down that way. Sonya, right. What would you call the design style? What would you call it?
I have no idea what
I mean, is it shabby chic? Is it, what would you call it?
Well, I guess I would say eccentric. Eclectic. Yes, not eccentric. What I did to furnish it, I started going to estate sales here in the village. I'm not kidding. And I
guilty.
If I left it, I just bought it, and we just stuck all this furniture in storage units.
Yeah. She would call me. She would call me at like 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon and say, "Ike, the estate sale closes in 2 hours. I need you to go over and pick up 2 king beds." And so I'd have to drop everything I'm doing, go grab my pickup and load up some furniture and bring it to the storage unit. And I'd have to do that weekend after weekend after weekend.
You clearly had nothing better to do. I mean, come on.
Yeah, obviously. It's like, well,
I ruined this golf game.
I was thinking of going golfing, or
And by the way, we need a new storage unit.
Razorback game. And by the way, what?
Randy.
I said, by the way, we need an additional storage unit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we ended up with 3 of them.
But
now, how long did this project take?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Well, and Randy, I can't wait for you to see the video, because look, this is glorious. There's no question. This is a gem. It is the top of the top. As a guy who this week went over 1,200 5-star reviews, I know what this takes. I've done this before. Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, you have a gem. You have a literal landmark gem. But the best is yet to come, because that Knickerbocker has the most fabulous bones of a building I've seen in the last 15 years.
It's fantastic. It's actually the project that we wanted to do first. And
we were a little nervous.
At one point we had the original agreement was we would buy both buildings. Mm-hmm. And after looking at money and everything, we went to the guy who was selling it to us and said, "Can we just start with one?" And he was our contractor on the project. So can we just start with one for now? And he said, "Yeah. And if you want to do the other one, I'll give you the same deal." And so anyway, but that is a Renaissance Revival building. It's Anthony Taylor, the architect who did the plans for the Darch for us. He said it's the only Renaissance Revival building in Hot Springs. It's got brickwork and limestone, and I mean the building itself is spectacular. But there's being an old building, there were a lot more engineering problems and things that need to be fixed up. But a good mason and find some good craftsmen out there, we can get it looking. We want that one to look like it looked like back in the day. And we've got lots of pictures of that. And that will take it'll be a much bigger project, but when it's done, it will be so spectacular. And
would you consider been some of those older pictures to me and Randy? Because I would love if we could tag that in this episode. That would be fantastic. Sure. That was a grand building. I've been eyeing that building for over 20 years. I told Diane last
everybody
night.
Has.
How
terrific to save it too.
The biggest question we get now is where are the lions? Because there were by the front door there were a couple of lions on either side, metal lions, and they are still there. They're not in the building, but the guy who owns the building, and that we're going to close on the building hopefully in the next month or month and a half or so. But he's got those lions, and we'll get those things back up too. But I mean, it's just that type of thing. We're going to have to find somebody who knows how weld at low temperatures, whatever, where they can fix that. And it's a lost art, and we've got to find somebody who knows how to do it.
How long do you project that project's going to take you?
Not 3 years.
It might be. But don't be surprised.
Yes. This one has taken way more time than it should have.
It's a bigger building, but Jason, the guy who is selling it to us, he did a lot of work extending the second and third floors back beyond what they used to look like, and with some fantastic engineering, and spent a lot of money on that type of stuff, and so that should speed the project up tremendously. We won't have to go in and remove half the wood in the building like we had to do on our current project.
Remove the homeless people.
Let me interrupt again for a millionth time. Give me the story that nearly happened to the Knickerbocker and the Dahmer.
Okay, so back in 1997, all sorts of newspaper stories that we found out there. Those buildings were both set to be demolished. They were condemned for being fire hazards. And a guy named John Girolamo, who has bought a lot of the properties up in downtown Hot Springs, he jumped in at the last minute and bought those properties with a promise that he would fix them up and save them. And that he did. He saved them, but he did not fix them up. And so they stayed vacant for 20 years. I mean, he basically stripped everything out there. It's not a fire hazard anymore because there's no wiring, there's no plumbing, there's no asbestos, there's no lead paint, there's nothing. I mean, it's just all stripped. And on the Darch Hotel, there wasn't even a facade. They took all the bricks off the front because the bricks were falling off. And so anyway, that's what we inherited, was just empty shells of buildings.
And it came within how many days of being destroyed?
Like within a week. And he just went and snatched it up and did it.
And I can tell you, we had so many positive comments about us restoring this building, the Darch. And so we decided to have a public open house. And John did the video, and we've got
13,000 views right now.
13,000 views.
13,000?
Yeah.
Yes.
200 shares and 13,000 views.
Incredible support. Yesterday was like, wow, it was just fabulous.
Yeah. Well, and from the video we saw, and I don't want to keep alluding to that, and we'll obviously link to it, but it's just a glorious place. And did you say, okay, I'm going to get into insurance so I can have a couple of, a dozen Airbnbs or a dozen VRBOs? Is that a linear path? Do you go straight from selling a policy to, no?
I tell you what, my father was a real estate appraiser. And when I got out of the Army, one of the first things, and he had just started to get into some real estate investing when he had some health problems and couldn't continue anymore, and had one deal that went bad and just financially hurt them. And so anyway, but when I got out of the Army, I actually talked to him about doing that. And so he gave me some advice, and for 30 years, I've been looking for something to do, in Hot Springs Village. It's not the best market to flip, or hasn't been the best market to flip. It's a great market now. Sure. But because you always, the supply and demand thing, there's always houses coming up for sale because somebody passed away or somebody moved back home to be with their kids, or you have two widows that get married together and there's an extra house that they sell. So there's always something like that going on. And so this was not a great market. I've looked at other things, and but this one here, finally it's like, okay, this makes sense for us. And I can't sit still for too long. So
yeah. So
same for me. And empty nesters.
And he said,
now. You need a project.
Yeah.
So we took on a project.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I mean, we did. We could never sit still. I mean, a few years ago, good friend Peter DeHaas, his son plays rugby now for the U.S. national team and for the probably the best rugby team in Europe. And he's like, hey. Or he was talking about, we got a rugby team playing out of Little Rock, And so, I used to play rugby in college and in the Army. And so I'd love to help out. Next thing you know, like 4 years, I'm coaching rugby and everything. It's like we can't sit still.
And I was rugby mom, so
we were nationally ranked.
We
were nationally ranked. And as a high school rugby team, and
we were the only rugby team in Arkansas.
And one St. Louis, we beat teams from states all around us. But anyway, and a lot of, obviously that had to do with Peter and his son Ruben and some great players we had. But even after Ruben graduated, we still won Ruggerfest the next year without Peter and without Ruben. So anyway,
it's pretty cool.
So it's pretty cool.
Hang on. So a rugby mom, does that mean you have a first aid kit under this arm and a concussion set under this arm?
Pretty much. That was part of it. I booked hotels. We had a lot of kids from rugby's an interesting sport. I didn't know much about it, and now I'm just hooked forever. But we had a lot of kids that single parent families. It was a way for them to be aggressive, get their aggressions out. And we had some tough kids. We really did.
Yes, we did.
So I was my friend Lorraine, Peter's wife, she started it and I helped her. And I would make sure that these kids were fed. We got some funds so that we could put them up. We stayed at some classy hotels too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Motel 8 or hotel, whatever it is. But we had such fun with these boys, and we only have 2 girls, so I didn't have boys, and so they were respectful to us. They would say their stuff on the fields, but when we came back, you don't talk to me that way. And we just got to mother them and feed them, and I would make the hotel arrangements and stuff, and it was the hardest thing I think we ever did, because we were going every weekend.
Yeah.
Because we go to Missouri, we go to Tennessee, we go all over to meet Dallas, to meet all these people to play rugby. Mm-hmm. And it was exhausting, but we have some of the best memories from that. It was fabulous.
I had a friend at UAMS, who had a bumper sticker on his car. It said, "Give blood, play rugby."
Absolutely.
So I can see the scenario, and I can understand the scenario. And our time is just about out, and it's been such a joy having you all today. Diane and I had talked about repeatedly the lesser loved areas here in the village, DeSoto Courts, places like that. We would love to buy some of those and fix those up, but you can't buy a block of them, as opposed to buying a hotel where you get 6 or 7 or 8 units out of it, and you can fix the block, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But even in that business, somebody made a comment yesterday on that video. It's like, why don't we do more long-term rentals? Why is everybody focused on short-term rentals? And the answer is basically, it's a simple math problem. You can't take a huge project like that and make money off of it on long-term rentals. The short-term rentals are the only thing that makes sense. And if it weren't for that, these buildings would still be abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Anyway, and the village is getting a lot more short-term rentals, and for that reason, it's like, okay, we can actually make money off of this thing if we sell it on a nightly basis.
Well, and I tell you what, let me address that, because we talk a lot about short-term rentals and whatever. Jeff Badkin's my business partner. We've had him on a few times. We were talking numbers one day, and he had 3 or 4 long-term rentals at that time. And I was telling him what we were doing with our downstairs unit and some other stuff. And he said, he got this pale, ghostly look on his face. And he said, "You make more per month than I do on your one unit than I do on all 4 of mine the entire year."
Right.
Wow.
Which was at that point when I went, I'm not interested in life. If that's what you're doing, I don't want long-term either. Yeah. So, it's that kind of multiplier that a lot of people don't understand. Randy,
there's also another benefit, and that is that many more people get to experience like your property, that many more people get to experience Dennis's property. So in that stereotypical win-win kind of a thing,
true,
that works out as well. Yeah. For me, listening to this, and it's been terrific to have you guys on, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the video tour. But it goes back to just kind of your sense of community. Here you are, some people that came to the village 23 years ago, you said, and, outside, and it's home. Mm-hmm. And I know we talked before we hit the record button, so you kind of blazed the trail and family members followed. So tell us a little bit about that before we wrap it up.
Oh yeah, we were a lot of times people move to the village and then their sons or daughters might move along with it when they see how great a place it is. And we did it the opposite way. We moved here first, and then next thing you know, my mom moved here after my dad passed away, and then her dad moved after her mom passed away, and then her aunt and uncle moved here. And so anyway, we were the magnet that brought everybody here.
And my quote is, my famous line is, if anybody else moves to the village that I need to take care of, I'm going to Florida. But no, we love it here, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know what? My girls grew up here. So our first little community, we lived on DeSoto Golf Course, and they had so many grandparents that just invested in their life. I mean, they would have their little neighborhood cocktail parties. My girls were invited, and they were 5 months and 3 years old. And we just loved that. And one neighbor came over and she said, well, those babies need to call me Grandma Dell. And I was like, well, of course. And it made them respect their elders so much.
Yeah.
So it was just great.
That's awesome.
And once you get plugged in, there should be a sign that says "Welcome to Mayberry." I mean, it really is.
True story.
One of our very first guests on here was Joseph Stansel, and he's the same way. He moved here, then his parents moved here, all bought lake lots on Lake Balboa, on homes on Balboa. They have a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old, and her 13-year-old likes to cook. And he said that they were having to work out a schedule of what day he was going to be at what granny, or what day she was going to be at what granny's house. Because we had cookies on Thursday, but then we had sweet potatoes on Friday, but then we had pumpkins on Friday. So it can be a struggle, right? Right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, y'all have been an absolute delight. Randy, is there anything we haven't asked, or Sonya? Is there anything?
I'm sure there is, but we need to be respectful of their time. I appreciate you guys being on. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you very much.
We enjoyed it very much.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's add, I'll see if we can do a tour. And Randy and I are actually talking about maybe doing some live things in the next few weeks. So maybe I could stagger in your building with the phone and we could take some pictures. So anyway,
absolutely.
For Hot Springs Village Inside Out, I got that right. See, HSV Inside Out, or Hot Springs Village InsideOut.com. I'm Dennis Simpson, and he's
Randy Cantrell.
And it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Ike. Thanks, Sonya.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.